My lawyer begged me to fight. Carla Fredel showed up in my kitchen 11 days after I buried Joel, pointing at everything, the ceiling, the walls, the floor, and said she was taking it all, the house, the law firm, every bank account, every asset down to the last dollar. Everything, she said, except our 4-year-old daughter, Tessa, because she didn't sign up for someone else's child. My name is Miriam Fredel. I'm 31, and until recently, I lived in Covington, Kentucky, just across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. It's a place where neighbors always know what you paid for your house. I married Joel when I was 24. He built his law firm from nothing, well, from his mother's $185,000 loan and thousands of hours of work. He started in a tiny rented office above a flooring store, where you could hear someone picking laminate samples whenever a client came in. Within 5 years, he moved to a proper office, hired staff, and was billing over $600,000 a year. Fredel and Associates. His name on the door. His mother never let anyone forget who paid for it. Joel died on Thursday, March 6, cardiac arrest. He was 36, found at his desk with his hand on his coffee mug. I got the call while bathing Tessa. I drove to the office with soap still under my nails. By the time I got there, the paramedics had stopped trying. The funeral was the following Wednesday. Carla wore black Chanel sunglasses indoors, hiding her face. Spencer, Joel's younger brother, was there too. He was 29, had never held a job for more than 5 months, and lived in Carla's guest house, spending his days playing video games and ordering online with her credit card. Carla wasn't helpless. She'd owned 4 dry cleaning stores across northern Kentucky. She knew business, or at least she thought she did. To her, Joel's law firm was just another store, except instead of pressing shirts, you pressed lawsuits, and instead of cash in the register, there was $600,000 a year flowing through. From the first Thanksgiving, she treated me like an inconvenience Joel would outgrow. She once introduced me to her friends as Joel's first wife, while we were still married. So when she showed up in my kitchen that Monday morning, 11 days after the funeral, I shouldn't have been surprised, but grief slows you down. Carla walked in wearing a gray blazer, ready for business. Spencer followed with a tape measure. While she explained that she was reclaiming her investment, the $30,000 she loaned Joel, he measured the closet in the guest bedroom. Carla laid out her case like a boardroom presentation. She wanted the house, the firm, the bank accounts. Not Tessa. I stood there holding a cold cup of coffee and said nothing. My brain couldn't process losing Joel and being robbed at the same time. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived from Axel Mendler. Carla had filed a formal contest of Joel's will and a creditor's claim for her $185,000 loan. This wasn't talk anymore. This was a legal attack before Joel's flowers had even wilted. Axel Mendler argued that the loan made Carla a co-owner of the firm. She was spending $350 an hour on him and wanted results fast. But she didn't wait for the legal system. The week after filing, she went to Joel's office, Fredel and Associates, and started introducing herself to the staff like she owned it. There were 4 employees, 2 paralegals, a receptionist, and Gail Horvath, the bookkeeper. Carla said she was overseeing operations and demanded revenue reports. She looked at the $620,000 top line and left satisfied. She didn't check expenses, debts, or open any folder not labeled income. Then she called Joel's clients, introducing herself as the person managing the transition. She had no legal authority, no license, and didn't know what most cases involved. But she had confidence, and she believed confidence was competence. Most of Joel's clients, understandably, transferred to other firms. Carla was systematically dismantling the business Joel built while pretending she was protecting it. She thought she could run the firm like one of her dry cleaning stores, look at the money coming in, ignore the costs, and claim victory. Meanwhile, I was living in shock and grief, trying to explain to a 4-year-old why her father wasn't coming home. My lawyer, LRA Schmidt, called constantly, urging me to fight, to hire aggressive counsel, to stop Carla before she caused permanent damage. But I hadn't yet understood the full picture Joel had left behind for me, the safety nets he put in place. I spent nights in his office, going through his private files. Handwritten notes, beneficiary updates, life insurance papers, retirement accounts, everything had been prepared for me. Joel had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition months before he died, and he'd quietly updated his accounts and policies so that Carla could never touch them. He'd done it without fanfare, without confrontation, because he trusted me to understand and act. He left me his life insurance, $875,000. Retirement accounts, $152,000 in a 401k and $58,000 in a Roth IRA. These were all outside probate, untouchable by Carla. And the firm's real financials were in his meticulous notes, debts, liabilities, everything I needed to protect what truly mattered. For the first time, clarity hit me. Joel had done the legal work, I just had to execute it. I didn't need to fight Carla in the courtroom over the estate, not yet. The documents he left, the beneficiary designations, the financial records, they gave me the control and authority to safeguard our family and our daughter's future. I called LRA and, for the first time in weeks, spoke calmly. I don't want to fight. I want to give her what she's asking for. Everything. Silence hung on the line for 10 seconds. Then LRA said, if that's what you truly want, we can do it. But make sure you understand what Joel protected for you. Nothing she's asking can touch that. That was the turning point. Carla could threaten, she could call, she could try to intimidate, but Joel had thought ahead. Every time she tried to take control, I reminded myself that she had no real claim on what mattered most, the firm, the life insurance, the retirement accounts, and, of course, Tessa. So while Carla spent her energy playing CEO in a law office she didn't understand, I spent mine securing the future Joel had planned, ensuring our daughter had a home, a father's legacy, and a mother who would fight with wisdom, not anger. Carla would learn, eventually, that confidence without knowledge is nothing. She could storm into an office, call clients, and measure closets, but she couldn't override the careful, deliberate planning of someone who had built a life with purpose and foresight. Joel had built more than a firm, he had built security, clarity, and foresight. And now, it was up to me to honor that, quietly, steadily, and without losing myself in the chaos Carla tried to create. I spent the next weeks documenting everything, organizing Joel's files, meeting with clients to reassure them, and managing the firm's operations. Carla kept calling, emailing, trying to assert control. I responded only with facts and paperwork. Every action she took, I countered with clarity and the law. She never understood that Joel's foresight meant she could threaten all she wanted, but nothing would shake the foundation he'd laid. Every late-night call, every angry email, every attempt to intimidate me reminded me of one simple truth: Joel had trusted me. That trust was absolute. And with that trust, I would navigate the storm, protect my daughter, and preserve the life Joel had fought to create. Carla could try to take everything, but she could never take what Joel had already secured. Within days, Carla was systematically destroying the revenue of the very business she was claiming to own. It was like watching someone set fire to a house while arguing with the insurance company about its value. Then Spencer showed up. A week after Carla visited, he pulled up to my house in her Buick Enclave with 2 duffel bags, a PlayStation, and a large bag of barbecue chips. He walked to the front door and announced he was moving into the guest bedroom because, and I quote, "Mom said it's basically ours now." He didn't bring sheets, a pillow, or a single change of clothes. Just the gaming console and snacks. I told him to leave. He refused. I called the Covington police. 2 officers came, confirmed the house was in Joel's name and that I was the surviving spouse, then escorted Spencer back to the car. He left the chips on my porch. I threw them away. That night, Carla called. Her voice hit a pitch I didn't think was humanly possible, somewhere between a smoke alarm and an opera singer warming up for a death scene. She told me I was heartless, cruel, and that Joel would be disgusted I had thrown his brother out. I reminded her Spencer had his own bedroom in her guest house. She hung up. Meanwhile, my support system started losing faith. My mom drove up from Lexington that weekend, sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Carla laid out her plan, and said, "Honey, you have got to fight this." My best friend Shannon called every night with the same advice: get a lawyer, get a shark, don't let her steamroll you. So I hired LRA Schmidt. She came highly recommended by a colleague of Joel's. A German-American woman in her mid-50s, with silver-streaked hair and a calm, precise energy that made you feel like everything might be okay. She had handled estate disputes for 20 years. LRA reviewed Carla's filings in about 40 minutes and told me it was beatable. The loan had no partnership agreement, no terms in writing, nothing giving Carla equity in the firm. The will was clean and properly executed. She said, "We fight, we win, and Carla goes home with nothing but a lesson in contract law." I told LRA I needed a few days to think. That night, after Tessa was asleep, I drove to Joel's office. It was almost 9 o'clock. The building was dark except for the green glow of exit signs. I unlocked Joel's private office with the spare key I always kept, and sat at his desk. It still smelled like him, coffee and the sandalwood aftershave he'd used since college. I opened the bottom drawer, the deep one with the files he didn't want anyone else touching. Behind a stack of old case folders, I found a sealed manila envelope. My name was written on the front in Joel's handwriting. Not Miriam Fredel, just Miriam, with a small heart like we were passing notes in high school. I opened it and read its contents. I sat there for almost an hour without moving, without breathing hard, without crying. For the first time since March 6th, my mind was completely clear. The next morning, I called LRA. My voice was calm, steady, like something had clicked behind my eyes. I said, "LRA, I've changed my mind. I don't want to fight. I want to give Carla everything she's asking for. Everything." LRA didn't say a word for 10 seconds, which is practically an eternity for someone who bills by the hour. I need to explain what was in that envelope. This is where everything changes. If you don't understand what Joel did in his last months, nothing that comes next will make sense. 8 months before he died, Joel was diagnosed with a serious heart condition. He had episodes of shortness of breath during routine things, chest tightness that came and went, and fatigue sleep didn't fix. He saw a cardiologist in Cincinnati. The diagnosis was bad, not immediately fatal, but serious, requiring progressive long-term management. Joel didn't tell his mother, his brother, or anyone else. You have to understand, Joel was a personal injury lawyer. He spent his career seeing lives fall apart because people didn't plan, cut corners, or assumed everything would be fine. He wasn't going to let that happen to his family. So, over 8 months, while still going to the office every day, wearing his good suits, still telling his mother about his big cases at Sunday dinner, he quietly and methodically arranged the pieces. The envelope contained 3 things. First, a handwritten letter dated 5 weeks before he died. Not about finances, just to me. He wrote about Tessa, how she called butterflies flutterbees, and he never wanted to correct her. He wrote about our kitchen, how the morning light hit the counter just right. He wrote about the day we met at 22 when I was a junior associate at Bernstein and Kellogg, and how he asked me to lunch 4 times before I said yes. The last line, "Don't let her take what matters. She can have the rest." Not instructions, just trust. Joel knew I was smart enough to understand once I saw the second and third items. Second, beneficiary confirmations. Joel had a $875,000 life insurance policy taken out years ago at 30 for a startup loan. In his final months, he updated the beneficiary to me, sole beneficiary. No medical exam required. That money would go directly to me, never through probate. Carla could not touch it. He did the same with retirement accounts, a 401k with $152,000 and a Roth IRA with $58,000. Same principle, direct beneficiary, outside probate. Another $210,000 Carla couldn't reach. This is standard procedure for life insurance and retirement accounts. Millions of families do this. Joel didn't forget. Third, the real financial picture of Fredel and Associates. Joel had handwritten a detailed summary of every debt, liability, and ticking bomb inside the firm. This is where I went from grieving widow to something else entirely. The firm brought in $620,000 a year. That part was true. But Joel had made sure everything I needed to protect was clearly documented, leaving me in control. I finally understood that Carla could threaten all she wanted, but she could not touch what Joel had arranged. Over the next few days, everything shifted. I no longer felt trapped under the weight of Carla's threats. I still had to manage the firm, the estate, and my grief, but I had clarity. I could see the pieces, and I understood my path. I started by taking stock of the staff at Fredel and Associates. Gail Horvath, the bookkeeper, was the first person I pulled aside. She had been with Joel for 6 years and knew every client, every account, every liability inside out. I told her what I had learned from the envelope. Her reaction was a mixture of relief and disbelief. "Joel planned all this," she said softly. "He really thought about everything. For you, for Tessa." Her words made me realize how carefully Joel had protected us. I started feeling a thread of control I hadn't had since his death. Next, I called a meeting with the other staff members. The receptionist, the 2 paralegals, and Gail all gathered in the conference room. I explained what was happening with Carla and Spencer. I told them about the will contest and the creditor claim. I didn't go into details about the insurance or the retirement accounts yet. I wanted to make sure they understood the immediate stakes. The firm was under threat, and morale was fragile. "What do we do?" asked Jennifer, one of the paralegals, her voice shaking. "We keep doing our jobs," I said. "We run this office the way Joel ran it. We treat the clients like he would. We don't panic. We focus on control, not chaos." I could see the relief in their faces. They needed direction, someone to anchor them. And for the first time in 2 weeks, I felt like I could be that person. Meanwhile, Carla and Spencer continued their slow, chaotic intrusion into my life. Spencer set up his PlayStation in the guest bedroom anyway, because the police had escorted him out once but had not imposed any long-term restrictions. Carla began calling clients, sending emails, and making demands at the office, blissfully unaware that the firm was not hers to control. She had no legal right to make decisions, and I was ready to assert that. I started documenting everything. Every phone call, every email, every text from Carla or Spencer. Each time she tried to claim authority over the firm or the estate, I noted it, stored it in a secure folder, and copied LRA Schmidt. We were building a timeline that would show Carla's actions as unauthorized, aggressive, and, in some cases, legally irrelevant. 2 weeks after the funeral, I received a call from Axel Mendler, Carla's attorney. He wanted to know if I had reconsidered, if I was going to accept Carla's demands and settle quietly. I paused before answering. No, I said. I am not negotiating under duress. All of this is being documented, and we will respond in court. I could hear the shift in his tone. He knew I wasn't bluffing. That evening, Tessa asked me for her bedtime story. I tucked her in and realized something important. Despite all the legal battles, the estate issues, and Carla's intrusion, my daughter was my priority. Everything Joel had planned, every policy update, every letter, every instruction, was to protect us. And protecting us meant keeping our home, our family life, and our security intact. I began reviewing Joel's financial summary from the envelope more thoroughly. It wasn't just a list of debts and assets, it was a blueprint. He had mapped out every liability, every outstanding client case, every loan, every payable. He even noted potential risks, pending litigation, clients who might default, and expenses that could spike unexpectedly. Joel had done what few people do, he prepared for the worst while expecting the best. Over the next few days, I organized the office staff into teams. Gail managed finances and accounts receivable, the paralegals focused on active client cases, and the receptionist handled communications. I met with each team individually to explain their role and make sure they knew I was taking charge. I realized that leadership wasn't about being the loudest voice or the most aggressive, it was about clarity, consistency, and calm. Carla escalated her actions again. She sent a notice to some clients claiming she had authority over the firm. I forwarded each notice to LRA and to Joel's clients with a clarification. Joel's firm remained under my management, and any claims made by Carla were unauthorized. A few clients were confused at first, but once I explained, they continued working with us. Some even apologized for their initial hesitation, saying they didn't realize how aggressive Carla had become. Then Spencer tried to show up at the office. I met him at the door and calmly explained that he had no legal right to enter. He tried to argue, but I had the documents, the police call notes, and LRA's advice backing me up. He left, fuming. It was during one of these late evenings at the office that I realized something. Carla had overplayed her hand. She had assumed fear would control the situation. She didn't expect me to have Joel's envelope, to understand the insurance, the retirement accounts, or the financial summary. She didn't expect me to have a lawyer who knew estate disputes inside and out. She underestimated me. By the third week, I had begun preparing the estate response. LRA helped draft a formal reply to Carla's filings. We detailed why the loan did not grant her equity, why the will was properly executed, and how the estate and firm were structured legally. Every piece of evidence Joel left me was incorporated. Every financial document, every letter, every beneficiary form, laid out clearly to protect our rights. In between legal preparation, I also had to handle the emotional side of it. Tessa needed stability. I maintained our routines, our bedtime stories, and our small rituals. I cooked meals Joel loved, we worked in the garden, and I even brought out some of Joel's old law books so Tessa could study like Daddy. These moments reminded me of why I was fighting, not just for property or money, but for the life Joel had built for us. Carla continued her attempts to unsettle me. She called, texted, and even sent letters. Every time, I calmly logged it, forwarded it to LRA, and moved on. I refused to let her chaos dictate my days. It became clear that her goal was intimidation, and my response had neutralized it. By the end of the month, the staff at Fredel and Associates was fully aligned. They trusted me, they understood the legal situation, and they were committed to keeping the firm running smoothly. Clients were secure, finances were stable, and morale was slowly returning. Then came the first court date. LRA and I went in prepared. The judge listened to Carla's claims, reviewed the documentation, and asked pointed questions about the loan and the will. LRA presented the evidence clearly. Joel's loan was a personal transaction, the will was valid, the insurance and retirement accounts were properly updated. Carla tried to argue, but it was clear she hadn't read or understood Joel's careful planning.